Chaotic scenes like these playing out at airports around the world.
Thousands of Americans are finding themselves stranded abroad as a result of this coronavirus pandemic.
Countries locking down their borders, trying to contain the spread of coronavirus. In Peru, a sudden shutdown of domestic and international travel on March 16th brought the country to a standstill. Many Americans were left panicking about how they were going to get back home.
It's just been very, very traumatic.
Police outside, Americans tried to get out, they were held with a gun. It's just not a good situation here right now.
4 months later, Peru's now easing restrictions. The U.S. State Department says it's repatriated more than 12,000 U.S. citizens from the country, but many who stayed behind to wait out the crush of evacuations now find themselves stuck with limited options and even fewer government resources to assist them. Citizens like Abby Matson from Georgia. She's been living in Peru for 2 years and says she decided to stay behind in part to make sure the nonprofit she worked for would survive.
I just felt like I needed to stay and I needed to do everything possible to continue to help these people, even if it meant, not knowing what my life would look like for a couple months.
The nonprofit supports recent refugees from Venezuela in Peru, and it was here in February, just about a month before lockdown, when she found her other reason for staying behind, Alejandro.
And the way that we met is in his English class. He wrote me a letter in English.
We Skype with the two from their home in Lima, and together they're impossibly cute.
And then he gave me the letter the day before Valentine's Day.
Lo primero que pude notar de ella.
First thing that I noticed about Abby when I wanted to get to know her was just her commitment to the children in the program and to the different moms, and it was just something that was really special, and it filled me a lot too to see that in her.
And then on Valentine's Day, he found me and gave me a piece of Venezuelan chocolate. So that's kind of how we started.
Their love simply beams across the screen as they tell us about how they proposed to each other. She asked him first.
Ya estábamos como siendo muy amigos.
So we were already becoming really good friends, and we were really with each other, spending a lot of time with each other at that point, and like each other. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, but it was really her that took the initiative to say something to me first. And she said, Alejandro, I want to spend the rest of my days with you. And it was just this explosion of emotions inside me.
And as they share with us some exciting news.
We found out in June that we're expecting our first child.
But all of that joy makes things more complicated.
All of a sudden it felt like everything had a time on it,
Abby wants to come back to the U.S. to have her baby. But Alejandro's a Venezuelan national, and he can only come to the U.S. if he's granted a U.S. visa. They started his application in June, but they're still waiting for what could be a years-long process. Visa services in Peru have been halted indefinitely since March 16th, and they've been suspended worldwide except for life and death emergencies. And today, the U.S. Consular Agency in Cusco, Peru officially closed its doors until at least November, making the future even more uncertain.
I do think in general there will be more traffic or more people who will use the U.S. Embassy here in Lima. So I think when there's less agencies available to support, especially in a time of crisis, it can make it more difficult.
Valerie Edmondson Bolaños and her organization Warrior Angels Rescue has helped to evacuate at least 350 Americans since the start of the crisis. She says the situation on the ground has been challenging.
At the beginning, people were panicking because they had been stuck in Peru for 4 days. And little did they know, and little did any of us know, that 4 months later, they'd still be there, some of them. And so some people have chosen to just live within their circumstances and make the best of a really awful situation. Now with the embassies and the consulates shutting down, people are under even more pressure. They're feeling even more pressure to get out.
Even with the good news of Peru restarting short flights between Cusco and the capital, Lima is now the only place in the entire country that can process visas, passport requests, and other travel-related issues for U.S. citizens and residents.
U.S. citizens are having an impossible time getting home right now. And with lawful permanent residents, it's a little bit harder than that. And then with anyone who's not a lawful permanent resident yet, but was in the process of applying for that status or visa, it's nearly impossible from what I've seen.
And Americans are also struggling to find affordable flights home. Francisco Polino has been in Lima, Peru since New Year's after initially visiting his parents. Medical issues and a family emergency caused him to postpone his March flight back to the States. He's been stuck ever since, running out of money fast, and says he has dwindling hope of getting out soon.
Now it's July, almost the end of July. Flights are so expensive. I don't have any money left. And then most of the flights are requiring a direct deposit, which means I will need to have money here in Peru. I don't have.
There are no more government-organized repatriation flights out of Peru after the State Department warned American citizens to act immediately if they wanted to return to the U.S.